Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns Summer League, well, it's already started Thursday. The Suns take the court in Las Vegas Friday night for the very first time, which means our first glance, our first look at the three new rookies. What can we expect from Khaman Maluach and his fellow rookie classmates? Next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on a game day Friday. Yes, that's right. It's July 11th, but there is basketball. Don't forget Locked On Suns. Free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer. Get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode brought to you by the Game Time app. Download it today, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. We'll talk about our expectations for the rookies in Summer League, 2 new hires by the Phoenix Suns, plus how Devin, Booker, and Jalen Green could fit based on what we've heard so far. Joining me for all of it, as always, from the wonderful West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling, Ben Garcia?
Great, man. We got Summer League action. It's kind of been fun to watch, like at the beginning where some teams are involved in the Utah one and the California one, but finally the Suns get to go in. And dude, kudos to the NBA, man. Like they have extended the season at least another 2 weeks with the Summer League, and watching your guys immediately on the court are a ton of fun. So I'm excited, man. Rasheer Fleming, Kobe Brea, and of course Maluach. It's gonna be good.
Thursday, Rasheer Fleming's birthday. That was kind of funny. He's turning 21 in Vegas.
He
doesn't strike me as the kind of dude who's going to go crazy. He seems like a very, very hard worker, not going to blow it on some, crazy Vegas nights in his first shot as a pro. But we're going to talk about what we want to see from those guys. But we're not going to start with Fleming. We're going to start in chronological order with the number 10 overall pick, and that's Khaman Maluach. And Ben, we'll talk about his offense in a second, but I think that the bottom line on him is this is a guy who's going to have a massive size advantage over everybody else on the court. Like, Summer League is known for, like, the 6'9", 6'10", tweener centers who are trying to break into the league, who just kind of roll the ball out there and hope they can recapture whatever their hoop dreams were. There's not a lot of 7'2" athletes in these gyms. I think that, like, I was watching Minnesota today, their rookie, Berenjay, he blocked like 3 shots in 2 minutes. That's what I want to see from Khaman Maluach. I want elite rim protection. I want these goofy guards who just chuck up shots to get their you-know-what stuffed by the rookie. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, this isn't like what we discussed with Ryan Dunn and Oso, like working on the fundamentals. I don't, like we've talked about before, should come on Maluach at some point, maybe learn some aspect of a three ball, sure, but like not in the Summer League. This is your opportunity to go in, build some confidence, swat away a bunch of shots, and look dominant. Because in the NBA, you're not going to be dominant, at least right away. At least I wouldn't think so. So can I see Khaman Maluach go out there, catch a bunch of oops, and look like at the end of the day, because they're rookies, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't look lost out there. It's probably a lot. Vegas, everyone else there technically is a pro now too, to go from college to the top 1% of college to now the top 1% of that 1%. So I want to see him dominate. I want to see him get in ISOs with 6'3" guards and stay with them and show that versatility horizontally, which for some reason I cannot figure out the word for that. Stay with those guys. So I would agree with you, man. Just be dominant and do what you do well. We're not asking you to go out there and like start chucking up threes. Look like you know what you're doing. And I'm excited, man. I think this kid is, I think oftentimes teams will try to hide their rookie because like they might think he's good, but they're not trying to overwhelm him. The things that we have heard, the early returns of Khaman Maluach from either Ryan Dunn or Brian Gregory, like they're really putting it out there. Like this guy knows what he's doing. So I'm excited to see him on the court and see if right away he can start to dominate.
On the defensive end, too, they mentioned that his communication has already really cut through, which can be rare for a rookie. I mean, I remember DeAndre Ayton was silent on the court in his rookies, most of his time here, until he really broke out that final season. And so I hope that it's a good sign of things to come that he already feels that comfort level to not only be a vocal communicator, but even to know what the hell to communicate about. Like, that's good to see for a younger kid too. Offensively, though, I want to play a clip from Jordan Knott. And I agree with you. I don't expect him to shoot right away. I wasn't expecting him to shoot in Las Vegas, but then Jordan Knott said this, and I had to take a step back.
As an NBA coach, like, you get into these draft process pretty late, and just the way the NBA works, you're so dialed into NBA, the next scout, your previous game, the college game, you don't get to see a ton. With Khaman's ability, he's so skilled with his ability to space the floor. I don't think you want to put any expectations on him at this time. What he does provide right away is, his rolling ability, the ability to get on the rim. But I do think because of the possibility of him and also playing together, even at Summer League, that you're going to see him on the perimeter a little bit. So, I don't think you put any guardrails right now. You just see what he can do. I think he's surprised himself a little bit already, but you got to do it in the game. You got to do it for 82 games. There's a long path, a long road ahead.
I think that caveat at the end is good, right? Like, we always see these clips of dudes shooting. Like, there was one going around of Jalen Duren this week, and it's like a lot of bigs can shoot in an empty gym. Like, Dwight Howard can probably shoot threes in an empty gym, but he can't even make free throws in an NBA game. But the fact that at age 18 and the coaching staff is already in support of this, and then I'm watching Dwayne Rankins tweeting clips of him making pretty natural, fluid free throw line jumpers, Ben. I'm still not getting ahead of myself, but it at least feels like they're willing to fast track the process a little bit here to at least let him try this sooner than I thought that they would.
And like, if they feel comfortable doing that, sure. But again, you and I are not getting ahead of ourselves. You and I are not saying this guy's going to be in top 10 top 10 center like right away.
Yeah.
However, you can see the smile in Jordan Knott's face, like immediately. Like, I saw him talk about Isaiah, whoever the Suns signed 2 days ago, the two-way deal. Like, I saw him talk about him. Yes, exactly. Livers the other day. He was talking about him like there wasn't that sly smile. Like, he knows something at Khaman Maluach that he's trying to keep in, but he wants to tell everyone, like, this guy's awesome. Yeah. And then he mentioned the Oso thing with it too. Like, I didn't even think of that. Oso and him are going to play at the court at the same time. Those guys can't clog up the lane together. So what are you going to do? You're going to stretch this guy out because you're not going to stretch out Oso. So I wouldn't put limitations on this guy, but also maybe like, let's not put too much on our plate either with Maluach. Let's see him just go out there and execute the plays well and just don't look lost. Because again, at the end of the day, he's 18 years old. Do what you do well, rim run, catch lobs, play well defensively. And then who knows? Maybe the Suns make a run in this summer league, and in game 2 of the playoffs, he stretches the floor a little bit. But as much as I believe in this kid too, number 1 guy on my draft board, right? I just think like let's ease it up a little bit. Let's ease our expectations just a little bit. So yeah.
Suns face off against the Wizards to start things off on Friday.
That's a good team.
6 p.m. local. Yeah, a lot of obviously high picks because they've had those the past couple of years. Then the Hawks Sunday, Kings Monday, Wolves Wednesday. Quickly before we jump to the rest of the news we want to hit, Ben, anything you're looking for with regard to Fleming or Brea?
I'm more interested in watching Brea than I am Rasheer Fleming. Like, in terms of who I think is going to be better, like Rasheer Fleming for sure. But Kobe Brea is pretty much in the NBA because he's been a sniper from the outside. I'm not going to come in here and be like, next Devin Booker, running off of screens, creating your own shot, playmaking. Can you hit 3-point jumpers like you did against like I mentioned before, the top 1% of the 1% in college hoops? Are you able to score at an effective clip? Start to show me right away what your ceiling is. I know it's not going to be this elite defensive guy. I know it's not going to be this elite passer, but can you be a viable defender? And can you shoot the ball effectively right away from the jump? Because the Suns can use that guy off the bench where potentially he plays as much as Oso did as a second rounder. So I'm looking more at him. Rasheer Fleming, like, do what you do, man, and do it at a solid level.
Fleming is the kind of guy that's not really a great fit for summer league,
No.
because he's the glue and the connective tissue of a really good team at the pro level, where the size, the versatility, the skill, it all kind of just complements great players. But in an environment where you're lucky if you're going to shoot 40% as a team, and guys are just out there to try to get a paycheck and make the team, he's not going to get lost. Like, I think we'll notice his athleticism, we'll notice his physicality, the effort, all that stuff, but he's probably going to put up like 3 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal and a block, and that's it in like 30 minutes. Because it's just like, what's he supposed to do out there?
Well, it's like, I don't want to offend Rasheer Fleming, but I didn't want to say this either. I didn't want to be like, he's kind of above summer league, because you said it exactly perfect. He is a glue guy, but a very important, potentially glue guy to a championship team. If he's a glue guy in the summer league, like, that's almost offensive to say. So I didn't want to be like, can he be the guy, the 3-and-D guy? Like, I know what he's going to do.
It's kind of like Kamara, right? It's like when we were watching Tamani Kamara, that one summer league in 2023, where we were like, you can kind of just see it. You can kind of just feel it. I think we could end up feeling better about Fleming after this slate of games, but it's not going to pop in quite the same way. It's going to be just those little flashes where his IQ is there, his size makes an impact on the game, little things like that. Let's get to the 2 coaching hires that the Suns made on Thursday, rounding out the staff, basically starting to complete Jordan Ott's first ever NBA coaching staff next. First, today's show brought to you by the Game Time app. Have you ever decided at the last minute you want to head to a ball game with friends and family? I think we all have. It's usually because the price is great and the game is awesome, and Game Time helps you get through on both. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without any stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. I think Ben splurged on a 4th of July D-backs hat that I may or may not have seen on Instagram. Game Time makes it all possible. Game Time. What do we got here going on in the Valley? Well, the Gold Cup is done. That came and went. We've got WNBA action. We have got the D-backs. We have got concerts, comedy, theater. Game Time has it all. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. There's the hat that you can splurge on if you save money.
That's exactly why I bought it. Because Game Time, I got my tickets incredibly cheap. So use Game Time. And
a little bit more pocket money, some spending
and they
money
don't
once you got
charge
to the
tax
ballpark.
at the ballpark. So yeah, there's that as well.
There you go. All right. So one hire today, Ben, that I think was a little bit more promising and serious and good. One that made people scratch their heads a little bit here for the Phoenix Suns coaching staff. I wish that I usually am pretty buttoned up on my pronunciations. I'm a little lost. Jesse Mermes, I'm going to call him Mermes, and we'll see if we can get some clarity there. From the Orlando Magic, according to Shams Charania, will be the top assistant coach on Jordan Ott's staff. Critical hire for Ott to lure a lead assistant from a well-respected Magic staff. I thought this one was pretty promising, Ben, because this is a guy who's been around for a while in the NBA. He is a local guy, came up in Tucson, went to high school, like grew up in Tucson, and then came up as a coach in Tucson, including at the University of Arizona. But also, hey, that Magic staff is not too shabby. That's a team that obviously has really risen lately. So it checked a lot of boxes that I think make a lot of sense for them to be able to snag him from another team that's on their way up and actually make a hire from a different staff where I had said, hey, we might not have a lot of options here. This was a good one to see.
So I'm going to ask you the obvious question just so people don't get confused, but he is not going to be the top assistant, right? He will be a top assistant for the Suns.
We don't know. It's kind of hard to see what Shams meant because he said exactly. A top assistant as I kind of corrected myself. Mean? But then in the second sentence, he says to lure a lead assistant. Like, you say lead assistant, that's kind of like an official term in the NBA. That's not like a generality. So I think maybe my guess would be it's sort of up in the air. Maybe they still have a target that could go above him. If not, it'll be him. I don't know.
Well, overall, because the way I saw it too, because when I first sent it to you, I thought he was going to be the top guy, and then I was kind of confused. I was like, oh wait, could Steven Silas still be that guy? But it's a mature hire. He was obviously on the Magic the last couple of years when they were competitive. They went to the playoffs back-to-back years. He was on that Light the Beam Kings team, if I'm not mistaken, over in 2021. Oh wait, no, that'd be a little bit earlier than that. But 2019, 2021 Sacramento Kings team where they were starting to kind of figure it out. And then, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers, he left right. He was in that LeBron era. LeBron, maybe it's a ploy to bring him to Phoenix, but like it's a mature hire.
He's been in the NBA since 2008. Like this is an experienced guy. This is a really solid dude to just have in the room for a first-time head coach.
And it kind of makes sense for him if he is the top guy. It kind of does make sense for him to leave the Magic staff to come over to Phoenix, because he is from Arizona. South Point Catholic High School, was worked at the University of Arizona a lot. Listen, it doesn't say Michigan State. It says that the Suns are looking for people that obviously that they have a connection with, but ultimately are going to do the job right. And I think that shows that it's a mature hire. We'll see if he's the lead guy or if he's not, because if this still means we could get a Steven Silas in here, or, maybe we'd rather a Darvin Ham as well. It's TBD, but it's a mature grab, but still it's like, man, this is kind of a slow trickle. I can't believe this is taking this long.
Yeah, I mean, I can believe it. Like I keep referencing, Ott basically told us it might take a minute because of the lack of change around the league. And even the teams that did, they just hired their interims. So those staffs largely stayed put too. I think this was what he was facing. I hope that they can overcome it, but it might be a little light. It might be a little random kind of collection of dudes in this first year for him. The alignment may have to make up for that, I guess. Speaking of alignment and speaking of the university that you just referenced, the other hire is Mateen Cleaves. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, probably for most people it does, because that was one of the leading players on the 2000 Michigan State title team, a.k.a. a teammate of Matt Ishbia's, and not only a teammate 25 years ago, Ben, but also a dude who he has stayed very close with and who he hired to be a leadership coach at his mortgage company in Michigan 6 years ago. This is full-on Ishbia buddies. Like, I just call it what it is. It's Mateen Cleaves. Like, I doubt he's been fully separated from the basketball world, but he's not exactly a coach in waiting in some other staff, the way we were just talking about Mermies. So I don't know what to think of this one. It seems fairly minimal. He's going to be on the player development staff. That means second or third row type of coach, not somebody who's going to come in here and be the defining character of the coaching staff by any means, but it just felt a little bit random and unnecessary, if I'm being honest. But I also might just be being a jerk because it's the Ishbia effect.
Oh, no. This is where it's like, okay, why? I did send you a tweet where Dwayne Wade was talking about Mateen Cleaves, and he said, he's someone you want in your locker room. He's a winner. So I couldn't tell you much more than like, hey, a star-studded NBA player that has a lot of obviously say in how in the NBA and how it's run and leadership in the locker room. He likes him. The only thing is like the lack of experience, where I'm like, okay, this guy's not your top guy. Where is he going to be in the staff? How is this going to work? And also is Jordan not being allowed to select his own guys, or is Ishbia, was this a part of the, we'll let you be the head coach if you give me like 2 or 3 of my boys. Like, that's not cool. That's the overstepping of the boundaries we've continued to talk about with Ishbia.
I was curious. I saw that Wade clip too, because that's the one that Gambo quote tweeted when he announced the move. And I didn't understand how they would have known each other. And then I kind of was digging back through. I'm like, okay, Cleaves didn't play too much in the NBA. He was basically out of the league by the time that Wade even broke in, and then never coached. I don't know. Must have obviously had a relationship there. But either way, I don't, it's not like I hate it. And I think that starting as a player development guy, if he's been in that kind of leadership world in the corporate space for a little bit now, obviously had the playing career to pull from. This is kind of the pathway you would want somebody to take if they were being brought in. Like, it's kind of like what the coach's son will do and things like that, right? Like, so it's not cutting the line or anything. It feels like that space could be better filled by a more experienced person. But again, it's probably not going to impact the team too bad.
My last thought is no. I would agree with you. I don't think it's going to impact a singular win or a singular point change, but you only have so many spots on the bench that you can fill with coaches. I just feel like you probably should do it with guys who are more experienced, especially on an inexperienced staff, especially with a head coach that is kind of doing this on the fly. Yeah, sure. Came from the Cavs, saw the top assistant does it. Learned under the head coach over there. But like, it'd be nice, like you had mentioned too, if we could get a Taylor Jenkins in here for a year to help guide the ship. It is a little annoying, but it's just like whatever. It's not like I'm going to be as outraged when Brian Gregory got the job.
And probably harder to fire too, given, or move on from or hire somebody above him in the hierarchy of the staff because of those relationships. So what happens if he's not great? Does he leave after a year, or is this sort of like he's on for the long haul because of those friends in high places? I guess we will not know that for a little while. Let's get to a little bit of a look ahead. Some comments about Devin Booker and Brian Gregory and Jalen Green from Brian Gregory that we touched on a little bit on yesterday's show, but let's dig in more to their fit. Booker did sign his extension today. This is a very key, maybe the key fit that the Suns will have to figure out this upcoming season. How could it work? Next. Closing out the show. All right, Ben. So we discussed this a little bit, the comments from Gregory about Book and Green, and we were like, is this real, not real, just sort of spin, whatever. But the reality is, no matter where that was coming from, these two guys do have to figure it out together, right? Book made it through the summer without our worst fears coming to pass. He's signed this extension now. Jalen Green does not appear to be going anywhere and can't for a while now that the trade is complete. We haven't seen the Suns sign a Chris Paul or a Malcolm Brogdon yet, so it appears it's going to be these two guys really orchestrating and engineering and leading this offense, oftentimes together, sometimes without. But let's talk about when they're out there together. How do you see the kind of balancing act going between two guys who mostly are scorers? That's primarily what they want to do. Same size, all the stuff we've talked about. What do you think it'll look like here in the early going?
I think it's going to look really clunky at first, man. Jalen Green has never had to share the ball with another player. Like Alperen Şengün, he's a fine scorer. Like it's not everything that he does, along with Amen Thompson, who has had issues before. Like we think Amen Thompson's going to be great, but he's got to be more consistent on the offensive end. Jalen Green was asked every single night to carry this team offensively. And some nights, like it's not like Devin Booker, where it's like, and he did it every night. Green was fairly inconsistent. And I think Green is going to have a harder job adjusting to this than Devin Booker is. We saw Devin Booker with Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. No issues, sharing the ball and letting it be someone else's turn. I need to see Devin Booker evolve from just like a schematics point of like, no longer being your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. All right, Kevin Durant has got the ball for a while. Because that's what it felt like. It felt like the offense was very clunky, and everyone had it in their head of like, well, Beal hasn't had a shot in a while. That needs to be more fluid. How that works, dribble, drive, kick out to Jalen Green. It's where we've talked about him having to be a better shooter consistently. And same with Devin Booker. Those guys need to figure out a way to play off each other, similar to like Klay Thompson, Steph Curry did. That's an insane comparison, but those guys offensively have to find a way to work. And I think it's going to be tougher for Green, because if they don't, you have two minus two neutral defenders out there. So I'm more curious what you think about this, but from Jalen Green's aspect, it seems like it's going to be way more difficult because now he's going to have to be asked to be the second fiddle, and he has never seen that role yet.
Yeah, so I think it is good to look at Green's trajectory a little bit for this, because at the end of the day, we have seen Book fluctuate in terms of what his role is.
Yep.
Even like on ball, off ball is almost like too narrow. Like we've seen with Rubio, that's a traditional point guard, but they played so fast that Book actually was still kind of running and gunning a little bit. Whereas with Chris, he was mostly purely off ball. And then obviously there were times early in his career where he was just the only playmaker and he was doing everything. Like we've seen it all. And I don't think we know Book can adjust. It's just about what his best is going to be. Whereas with Green, he's younger and he has been in the same situation for so long. But I think that actually the first couple of years of his career, he did do something similar to this, Ben, because he played with Kevin Porter Jr. and they had that dueling banjo stuff. Yeah. And obviously they were a trash team and it didn't work. His efficiency was garbage, although it's kind of been pretty similar his whole career. Green, I mean, his usage was 24 as a rookie, then 28 as a sophomore, and Porter's was pretty similar, right? Those Stephen Silas teams we were just talking about when we were discussing the possibility of Silas coming over here. And it wasn't great. It was just sort of your turn, my turn, not a lot of movement, not a lot of anything. And so, yeah, like Steph and Clay, that is, it's not a useful comparison, not just because those guys are great, but those guys are largely off-ball, screen, cut, move. Like the Warriors play a whole different, like, breed of basketball. Whereas I think like we actually don't have to get that creative to think of a comp. The comp could just be Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland last year, right? Like I think that's probably a more apt thing to think about. And I'll admit, like I haven't gone back and really done any sort of deep dive to try to wrap my mind around how that can translate. But I think that one thing that is definitely helpful is both guys can make catch and shoot threes, Book and Green, and both guys can penetrate off the dribble. Like that's a good starting point. Even if it is going to be clunky, I would agree with you. I think it's just sort of what those guys are each doing when they're off the ball and how are you spacing and kind of setting up the offense before they hit the gas. That's the part that I think is really going to set a lot of this up, where in Cleveland, they had two good screeners. They had guys who could facilitate at the elbow in their bigs with Mobley and Allen. They had really, really high-level shooters like Ty Jerome and Sam Merrill to kind of space things. That was a nice structure to build from, and this is what I keep coming back to with this fit, is that it's not just about Book and Green. It's also like, what are the other players doing? And there's not as much shooting, and there's not as much experience and skill level of these bigs. That's the part that I think I'm actually most curious about, so that it's not just, hey, run a high pick and roll, put your head down, run into 6 defenders in the paint, and chuck up an inefficient shot and have a mediocre season. Like we don't want it to be that. We don't think it's going to be that for these guys. So what is it going to be? And maybe the different element is, hey, they have 2 behemoth centers. The Jared Allen wasn't exactly that type of player. What does that add, right? Like what is some more, maybe like a guy like Dylan Brooks is a little bit more of a do-it-all player, and he'll dip back into what he looked like, in Memphis and at Oregon more, and be more of a Swiss Army knife on offense rather than just a shooter. I don't know. I think those are all the questions that I'm asking, but maybe I think it's actually going to be a little bit less clunky. I just don't know if the guys are going to be at their best. I don't know if it's going to put them in positions to get to their ideal spots and be firing on all cylinders each between Book and Green. It might be a little bit, subpar compared to their usual standards.
See, I'm not going to, act like I did a bunch on this, but you made a good point about Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. And I don't remember how we viewed Darius Garland before Donovan Mitchell got there, but I do see his numbers, at least from the 3-point line, get a little bit more efficient. He's shooting less from the field, so he's getting a little bit more efficient as well, taking less shots, making the same amount of points roughly. Is the way we feel about Jalen Green skewed because we saw him as the primary scorer on a team, and that just doesn't suit him? Maybe Devin Booker, who we would agree is not like a number one bona fide, go into a championship, everyone get on my back, but I think he can be a number one scorer. And What if Jalen Green, what if all that's missing is he's just miscast right now as a main scorer on a team, and everything is going to get 10 times easier when the defense rolls over to Book, when he has a couple of bit more open jumpers. He's never had someone to the scoring ability of Devin Booker, and I think that there's real optimism to think, oh, he's just miscast as a 1 scorer when he's really a 2 or a 3.
So sure, I think that would be the optimistic case, but the problem is he doesn't play like that, right? So he doesn't play the way that a secondary or tertiary scorer would play. He isn't necessarily the most willing catch and shoot 3-point shooter, even though his percentages last year were pretty solid. He's not really a guy that cuts. He's not an elite passer. His turnovers are pretty high. And I think you would hope that a guy who's not the number one offensive option then also is probably going to have to be better for you on the defensive end if you're talking about, those types of players. So you're basically laying out probably what Jordan Knott's going to say to him in training camp. They're going to sit down and have this exact conversation. Hey, you have an opportunity here next to number 1 to do some stuff you've never gotten to do, because he's not Kevin Porter Jr. and he's not, even Fred VanVleet. He is an all-NBA gold medalist player. If you can adapt your game, you're going to get to do things you've never done in this league. You're going to win more. You're going to, get more involved in different ways. You're going to get a next contract and all these sorts of things that aren't guaranteed to you right now. But dating back to high school and then the G League and then the Rockets, Jalen Green has played this way. And if you look at the numbers, it's like eerily identical. 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. Everything's the same. His efficiency, his shot diet, his turnovers, everything. It's like the same player. So he needs to change. He's got to adapt.
And the thing that worries me the most about Jalen Green is his efficiency as a 3-point shooter, where I think he's going to be asked to make a lot of his scoring done from there. I really like the idea of Maluach running the high pick and roll with Jalen Green, because Jalen Green is such an effective driver as well and getting to the rim, or I guess I should say willing driver, getting to the rim and being able to lob that ball up to Maluach and make it just a little bit easier of a 2-man game. Maybe someone trails on the roll and it's a little bit easier. But I think most of his game is going to be predicated from shooting the 3-ball, driving kicks over to him. That's my biggest worry. He's never been that guy to do that consistently, and it's the same thing you're saying. Can he move without the ball in his hands, slash, do all those things that he hasn't been doing yet? But again, I don't think he's ever been asked to do that. I think sometimes he's just like, all right, I got to make everything happen, because if I dish the ball out to Men Thompson, he's not a refined enough scorer yet. So that's where I go with it.
I would say the past couple seasons, if he had played that way, their offense would have clicked better, because Şengün kind of vaulted over him as, more of the hub. And there was talent with VanVleet and other guys that were there, Jabari Smith, to pick up some slack. If he had been more of that versatile offensive piece, sliding between different kinds of roles, using his athleticism and everything, I think, I'm sure that Houston coaching staff was having some of these same conversations. But I think your point's valid that, he's never had Booker. And he's also, like you just said with Maluach, he's never had a center like that. He had Christian Wood, who knows what on earth Christian Wood is ever doing in a basketball game. And then he had Alperen Şengün, who's not a lob threat really at all and is obviously more of a playmaker in his own right. So it's going to be a different environment, absolutely. And it's going to be things that he can adjust and adapt that could make him better. But it's going to take some, I don't even want to say sacrifice, but it's just going to take some willingness and openness to actually doing that. And, that's up to him.
What if Green feels like, here's worst case scenario. What if he doesn't do any of that? What if he's the same exact player from the Rockets to the Suns? He doesn't, get in his head that the Rockets would rather a 36-year-old player, granted a very good player, but better than him. We've seen SGA and Tyrese Halliburton both move for star players, and it blew up in the other team's face. What if he doesn't? What if he is the same exact player, chucking up shots, getting his 20 points a game, kind of inefficiently? At some point, do you just bench him? Or because my point is that can't work, right? And so when we say that can't work and he's no longer seen as the primary scoring option on a team, he has to see that, right? And he has to change. I would argue he's never had to change. I think now, since he's conforming to Book, he has to. So it's a little bit of a mental game, man. It's a little bit of mental gymnastics. But
and
if you're
it's
trying
a
to
relationship thing too, right? Because like, how does Ott feel like he can do something? You know, can he send him to the bench for 3 games in November and not have it burn the bridge and ruin the season? You know, like, or does he develop, or do they not develop that relationship and he tries something like that and it really it blows up, or he feels like he can't even do it and Green just eats up minutes playing poorly? You know, I think those are all possibilities. And if it goes like the worst direction, then it's going to be some tough conversations next summer of, do they have to attach picks to trade him and all that kind of nonsense that we hope doesn't happen.
Last quick question. From when the Suns traded for Green to now, do you feel better, the worse, or the same about the Jalen Green acquisition in Phoenix? Now that we know what the roster mostly looks like. No Beal, Maluach, Fleming, Brooks.
Mm-hmm. I would say the same in terms of just like the fit. Like, I don't think I've really like seen or heard anything that makes me feel like him and Book are going to be any different than I thought at first blush. But I would say that, honestly, unfortunately, a little worse about the fit, because I've said a bunch of times now, if they had gotten a little bit more shooting on this team, then I think it would have cleared the way for him to be a better finisher, be a little bit better as a drive and kick player, pick and roll player than he's been able to be. But it's just going to be tough for him with the guys that they have right now. Unless they, I mean, there's lineups that could work. Like, if they're out there, if they have him with the center and then, you know, Book and Grayson and Royce or something, like, sure, I could picture that working, or Book and Brooks and Grayson, maybe more realistically. Like, there's stuff that can hit offensively for this team, but there's also going to be a lot of lineups where it's difficult. So
you're saying we shouldn't get rid of Beal after all? We need a shooter on the outside. Beal, you're in, buddy. We're running a 3-guard lineup.
Shooter last year.
We're running
if you call him that at this point.
We're running a 3-guard lineup. Beal, Booker, Green, similar to the Isaiah Thomas, Eric Bledsoe, or Goran Dragic days. Why the hell not?
Perfect. What could go wrong? That'll wrap us up. Hit follow or subscribe. We've got a Summer League game Friday, a Summer League game Sunday, and hopefully at some point, mercifully, this Bradley Beal saga will come to an end and we can analyze it for you as well. So keep it right here. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you next time.